Season 3 kicks off this week for Modern Warfare, and with it, we know that we'll be getting a decent bit of content, at least on the MP front. That stuff we've kind of seen happen on a semi-regular basis now, given that this will be our third outing when it comes to seasonal refreshes. But the big question mark, curious point, however you want to address it, for me, and I'm sure many others, is what will Season 3 hold for Warzone in particular? The new mega hit for the game, with what I would imagine has a massive uptick in daily concurrent users, given its free-to-play nature compared to just the regular MP side. What's in store for that with the game and the refresh beyond? This is our first real season that we have for Warzone that we're about to enter into, similar to how we had a month of Modern Warfare after launch before Season 1 started with Season 0. We had the regular gameplay, we had our World 2 experience, but nothing got too crafty until its first season. So today I want to discuss with you the known facts of what are forthcoming, and as well, some stuff that I would also imagine is likely to happen given the logic behind it. So today we're going to break down all of that, so as we go along, let me know one thing that you would like to see in Warzone and why, and as well, if you are new to the channel, do be sure to hit the subscribe button if you have not done so already to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare and Warzone, especially as we round into Season 3's launch here later Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, depending on your time zone, so you don't miss a single thing. That said, let's begin. Firstly, we know that we have a few things guaranteed because, well, some stuff's already in the game that points to this, and also we had some data mined information in the game files. So I think it's safe to start with the stuff that we know will be happening, and for me, one thing that I'm incredibly happy to hear out of this comes down to some of the modes. I'm sure you guys will be interested and happy to hear this as well. The big ones out of the modes that we've seen data mined and pulled from the game files are duos and quads. Now, we found out about this and the other modes we'll talk about briefly from a recent Reddit thread by user Senesalo, who has been a prominent data miner. He has gotten so much stuff right early and has pulled stuff out way in advance. But about a week and a half ago, he ended up posting a Reddit thread saying Season 3, Backlot and Village, new sniper and pistol, Modern Warfare 2 campaign remastered, and more, to which of course we learned about the stuff we've already detailed here on the channel. On the MP front, of Backlot and Village being the new maps for MP, the SKS and the Renetti being the weapons in the battle pass, operators of Alex and Ronin, and of course what we saw come to fruition with Modern Warfare 2's campaign remaster. But on the Warzone side, there wasn't a whole lot pulled from this in the current build, at least not stuff that relates to specific large builds of content. Playlists though, that's another story. What we saw were the stable playlists of duos and quads, of course, being pretty self-explanatory, with teams of 2 and teams of 4 that I think are the missing links of Warzone. Trios is fun, but I'm sure a lot of people out there maybe have a group of 4 they're used to playing with, especially coming off the heels of Blackout. And solos is a different beast entirely, and probably one that you've come across as very camp heavy. But duos and quads kind of fills that gap. It gives you enough communication with duos that you can keep the game rolling at a somewhat steady pace, and quads gets everybody in the action if you have a larger friend group. Duos, there's not really any hurdles. Of course, you can just jump in there. The big thing that I've heard with quads is how would it work with the player count? If you're staying at 150 isn't divisible by 4, so would it be something that you increase that player count, decrease it, maybe keep it the same, but just don't start the lobby with 150? If anything, I think it would be the last one there, where it would just go all the way up to maybe say 148 with 37 teams in quads. There are often a lot of times where my matches don't start with 150 to begin with, so at least from my perspective, it wouldn't really change too much of the dynamic of the game. But those are there, and those are, I think, stuff that I'm incredibly excited for. But I think the best part about it is that these modes show promise to be constant static modes that don't go anywhere. We saw recently that Warzone introduced its own playlist tab on the main menu, to which that's where solos is now subcategorized under. So wouldn't it just be perfect to see in that playlist solos, duos, and quads outside of the trios that is already on the main menu for the tiles? I think that's probably the biggest part. But outside of that, we also had some LTMs listed in the game files. We saw the modes of Battle Royale, High Action, Shoddy Snipers, One Shot, Realism, and Hardcore. Now, High Action is kind of like Close Quarters Frenzy from Blackout, though it doesn't specify if it's only CQB weaponry. Battle Royale, Shoddy Snipers is kind of like Ambush from Blackout, where you only have shotguns and snipers. One Shot is no loadout drops and only one-shot headshot kills. Realism takes the realism modes we've seen in Modern Warfare and puts it over into Battle Royale, where you have one-shot headshot lethality. Everything else is normal, but also you have no or limited HUD, and hardcore is just straight up hardcore. So that'll be really interesting. And another thing to look out for within Season 3 is one or maybe multiple different MP trials available through Warzone. This was something that pre-launch developers talked about, the fact they wanted to bring the free-to-play user base into Modern Warfare if they so chose to. And with things like what we see right now of limited time playlists that throw the free-to-play users into the traditional traditional multiplayer experience as a sort of taste of what you could get if you buy the full game. They're going to be continuing that, but with different playlists and different maps on offer throughout the coming season and seasons to follow. But that's the modes that we have that we know will be coming at some point within Season 3 because they're already in the game files. The next stuff that we know will be coming at some point is that of new weapon spawns and possibly even some weapon adjustments. But weapon spawns, whether that be ground spawns, crate spawns, or anything in between introduced into the Warzone game mode, that's something that we already saw another wave of weapons added in. Previously, we only saw weapons like the MG34, the M13, the RPG, but we saw other weapons thrown into the ground spawns and crate spawns as well, such as the 50GS, such as the EBR-14. That stuff is going to be gradually coming out, and I wouldn't expect every weapon to make its way into the game by the end of Season 3. I think it's going to be still a gradual process of rolling things out, but they've shown promise that they want to keep extending the base levels of play out there, but they seemingly wanted to have that more stable constant of making sure the game at large plays well before introducing even more weapons. So that'll be rolling out as well. We do know that we'll be seeing more challenges, and this is kind of the last stuff that we know will be happening, and then we'll transition over into stuff that I would expect to be coming, but we firstly know about more mission challenges. For many that may not realize that there's actually mission challenges for Warzone, albeit they're a bit lackluster in terms of rewards, with only 3 weapon blueprints of the old dusty Kar 98K, the Berliner, Kilo 141, and the Dry Heat P90, 2 of which are sand dusted, 1 is another generic blueprint, so it's nothing too flashy, but the rest is just emblems, calling cards, and XP alike. But as with MP, we'll see a seasonal refresh where more will be added in here for that, so that's stuff you'll be able to expect to grind out if you're interested at all. But the rest now is speculative, but logic dictates that we'll see it, given that most of these are constant in MP seasonal refreshes currently, and again, with so much invested into this mode, something that likely has a higher player count at the moment than traditional MP, given that there's no barrier of entry, it just makes sense for these things to come, and honestly would be pretty dumb for them not to. Firstly, on the whole sake of challenges, just kind of transitioning from one topic to the next, I would definitely imagine there to be officer challenges catered to Warzone. Whether that be a full-fledged of offerings specific to Warzone, I don't think we'll see that, but who knows, maybe we will. But at the very least, I'd see at least a handful of challenges tasking you to go over and play some Warzone. There is most definitely going to be a huge focus in customization as well, including in the areas of the shop, battle pass, and others. To preface this, it is something you have to realize this is now a free-to-play component of Call of Duty, something that COD has never done. So now entering into the first season where there's going to be marketed items, it's definitely going to be something where there's going to be some bids to generate revenue, whereas Warzone, at its very base, doesn't. Yes, you gain the active player base, but that doesn't generate revenue just by itself. So things like your battle pass and your shop are definitely going to have some items here in relation to Warzone. That, I would imagine, being skins, custom parachutes, trails, stuff like that, and even on the battle pass side, maybe an uptick in blueprints. Likely the same method as before, of course, you just go through all of this, but with free-to-play users now having the opportunity to earn some cool stuff for a whole season, we're going to see probably a bit more in quantity. Of course, especially in the shop as well, and now there's likely going to be added in even more custom parachutes and trails, since that's a new mechanic that is now a mainstream part of Modern Warfare. More customization items will definitely be coming, but I definitely expect the battle pass and the shop to be hit pretty hard with Warzone specific content, whether that be bundled with other stuff, but just to generate some revenue for those players that are on the free-to-play side of things. If you're interested, you could definitely take part, but if you're not, of course, just don't interact with it. Another topic that I think I have a hunch on comes down to camo customization, to which we know that we have a new master camo coming at some point. We have the Franken-smithing build coming. We talked about that yesterday, but the new master camo is likely going to be shortly behind that, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is in some capacity tethered to Warzone, whether it be Warzone specific or tasked you with doing things in Warzone. It would make sense to release a new grindable camo when a new massive chunk of the game is out there, and especially, again, to the masses of the free-to-play user base. If you're a free-to-play user, it would be almost impossible to get Damascus just by simply playing Battle Royale or Plunder, but if there's something of a master camo that is catered to Warzone, that would make things a lot easier, and of course would be a master camo for its own separate wing of the game, just like how we saw Dark Matter introduced within Zombies and Blackout last year on top of MP, though admittedly I think it was kind of a missed opportunity to not make them unique to each mode, but regardless, that's not the topic at hand here. I also would expect definitely some map alterations to be coming. An easy to point out update idea would be that of adding new locations or altering the map by maybe replacing something, extending the map out, because there's a lot of dead area in the out of bounds that could be worked worked with. But attention spans are short within the gaming world. I will be the first to tell you that I fall into that category a lot. One of the big things that made Fortnite popular was that not only was it a free-to-play game with no barrier of entry, but it kept players engaged by altering the world ever so slightly, adding in new locations, changing some stuff, and making things new again, whereas you're just always dropping into the same game mode, trying to be the last alive, or in the case of Plunder, trying to get as much cash as possible, always on the same map with these same locations. Keeping things fresh is integral to the lifespan of a battle royale, or at least in Warzone's case, something that has 2 modes, but it's incredibly important to keep the players interested in wanting to come back day in and day out for the same game modes and applications. So adding new locations for players to explore, definitely one way to do it. And again, with so much promise in the Modern Warfare universe, with so much promise with what we can see around the map, I definitely would expect this to be happening. Whether that happens at the very start of the Season 3 launch, or maybe halfway through around the full season mark for Warzone, since Warzone was introduced halfway through Season 2. We don't exactly know, but I would expect something to be coming of it. And the final thing that I think will be happening is a continuation of the bunker Easter eggs, or at least some clarity on that. Whether or not we actually open them up in Season 3, we set off a nuke or whatever the rumor is currently out there, I expect just at least some progress to it. Warzone continues the world of Modern Warfare, where the campaign ended and then it followed suit to that narrative driving over into Spec Ops, and Warzone is a direct continuation of that Spec Ops world, where Verdansk continues the fight that's going on behind the scenes narratively and keeps progressing that storyline ever so slightly. So maybe those bunkers are actually where AQ is keeping the nuclear warheads, the toxic gas that ends up shrouding the map every time you load into BR. At our early capture event in late February at Infinity Ward Studio, there was a decent bit of talk about live events and keeping things fresh in that regard, so maybe we do see something actually come of this, no less. But we definitely, on the front of Warzone, have a lot in store for Season 3 and what we can see here with the launch of that. This is the first time that we'll see introductions in terms of Warzone-specific content, especially, again, given the fact that it follows very similarly to how Modern Warfare at its base operated, where the first couple of weeks is just getting the footing, and then we'll introduce the stuff on top of that. So that's where we're gonna wrap it up. I'm excited for what we have here with the launch of Season 3. Hopefully you guys are as well, and let me know your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below, and of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare and Warzone as we round into Season 3's launch. Stick it right here so you don't miss any of it. And if you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. I live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. But let's end out of the way. Thank you guys all so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.